broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello, Welcome Home listeners. Thanks for joining us on episode 26 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with not Damon, but Trevor. How's it going, Trevor?
I'm doing good today. Lots of stuff to talk about this week, or interesting stuff. Nothing really, I guess the first one's not really like a DVC thing, but it kind of is.
Well, see, and that's why I put it in as and it's really a rumor, but it's kind of a DVC thing. And so we've got Trevor, we got me tonight. We got no Damon, unfortunately. Damon couldn't make it today. Maybe he'll pop in the middle of the show. Who knows? But the first thing we have on our agenda today is something called Project 89. And I think this is hilarious because this sounds like a sci-fi original movie to me. Project 89.
This is like Area 51, right?
Exactly. And so for those that don't know, this is a project that's just coming out now. Disney filed some permits basically for what's being called Project 89, and it's at the site of the former River Country, which, if you don't know about River Country, it was the first water park that Disney World had before they built Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach. And it was much loved, but it was also very small, and it was in between Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness, and it's basically sat abandoned for years and years and years and years. And, if you want to go on YouTube and see people, urban exploring. Is that what they call that? Is that urban exploring? Is that what it is?
Technically it's called trespassing, but yeah.
You're completely correct. Very illegal.
Yeah. So the thing about River Country was that it was the actual lake nearby fed all the water into it. And then they found that there was some issues with parasites and stuff in the water. So they couldn't feasibly keep it open anymore, which is understandable. So in the years they basically just shut it off, and it was close enough to Wilderness Lodge, or was it Wilderness Lodge or Fort Wilderness? So one of those that you can actually like there's a fence there, and you just hop over the fence and you're in River Country. And
it's kind of halfway between. It's kind of like in that general area.
Yeah, and so I've seen the videos of it, and the last time I checked, because I remember there was a big thing with it like a year and a half ago where people were going in there, they were looking around at there's still some of the slides there and the pools and everything, and Disney got freaked out about it because, one, they don't want people trespassing on their property, and two, it is actually pretty dangerous to be in there. So they actually went back and they leveled the whole area. So they filled it all in with dirt so that, there's really not anything there that resembles it anymore. Like it's just kind of a
lot, right?
Yeah, filled in area. So, the fact that they're looking to build on there, and so this permit is for conduct of geotechnical investigation to assess the suitability of subsurface soils for development. This is the technical part in the permit. And it's going to be going on here until like April. So basically they're just looking at it to see if the area is actually stable enough to put another building there, I would guess.
I mean, that would be my assumption. I mean, they're not testing that area for no reason, right? I mean, it seems like they're drilling holes into the ground and basically making sure that the soil there is good enough to support some structures. And what I find really interesting about this is that years ago, back in 2011, they actually had announced, DVC had announced, and this is why we're putting in our DVC news section, because that's where we always start. DVC had announced in September of 2011 that they were going to build a Fort Wilderness DVC resort. And it's kind of in that area that they were thinking. It got released and they announced it and everything, and then it just kind of disappeared. That was called Project 2011-2. There's actual videos out there. You can actually see it, and recommend definitely going on like dvcinfo.com. They have some pictures of what the development used to look like. So what I find interesting about this news, if they're doing that, are we talking about a possible another DVC resort? I mean, it would be pretty easy, right? I mean, they've already got the plans for it.
Yeah, but so I guess here's my question with that is that you've got Wilderness Lodge, which has Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek already, and then putting another one in that same area. I mean, maybe. The thing is that puts another resort that's pretty much like close to Magic Kingdom, right? Like it would, I assume it would be accessible by the boats and everything, the same as Wilderness Lodge. So that would make for a third resort in that area, or third DVC resort in that area that people could buy into, which, yeah, I guess,
I mean,
maybe
prime real estate, right? Thought. Prime real estate. Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the YouTube video here, it definitely looks like there is a dock there. So yeah, I could see those boats coming through that area, and it would be situated right in between basically Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name of it, but it's interesting. I wonder what else the plans would be. Like, in my mind, I feel like it has to be a resort, right? I mean, what else would they put there? They're not going to put another water park there.
No, but also I guess I don't know how big the area is that they're assessing either. Like it doesn't say anywhere in here how big it is, does it? It
doesn't. I mean, it has a picture of the permit, but it's kind of hard to tell just based on the permit and how big the spot is. But I don't know. It is interesting to me because it does seem like DVC, not necessarily DVC just by itself, but it does seem like Disney is looking at a lot of different ideas for resorts and different places they can put them as they anticipate, an increase in guests over the next couple of years from Star Wars and all the Epcot things they're doing and all the Magic Kingdom things they're going to do. They have to prepare for those things now by adding hotel rooms now, right? And DVC is so popular and sells so well. It makes sense to me. I would love to see another resort. I don't know if I'd stay there, honestly, but I do love that area.
I think. To me, it definitely seems like a good idea to have more because they've already got the Riviera coming in, which if you think about the Riviera, that's kind of a prime spot in between Epcot and Hollywood Studios, right? And then you've already got DVC at the Polynesian and
Contemporary.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to
Bay Lake.
Yes,
Bay Lake, yes.
Yeah, Contemporary or Bay Lake Tower. So, and I guess that was my next thought too. Is that do you think that this would be like? Because looking at the space where River Country was, it's not actually that big. Like water parks are not that big. So, do you suppose it would actually be a building like Wilderness Lodge, or would it be a tower, or?
That's a good question.
I'm just wondering, what they would do with it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, and I would ask you this: I never got to go to River Country. That just never happened for me for whatever reason. Growing up, we just weren't really into water parks. So we went when River Country was open. We just never went, to River Country itself. Have you ever been? Did you ever go?
Sadly, no, I never went. My parents took my brother when he was young, but at that point I was already moved out. And so, yeah, they went and they said it was a lot of fun, but I never got to experience it myself.
Well, yeah, and the park itself was really small. But if I remember correctly, and a listener correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you could just walk over there. I think it was kind of isolated a bit. I believe you had to take like a train over there, if I remember correctly. So I'm wondering if there's just a lot of space, like empty space around it, just like a lot of forest around it. So maybe River Country, the site itself wasn't that big, but there's a lot of space just around it that was unused anyway. But I don't know.
And that's actually another good point too, is if you're talking about another DVC location, as it stands right now, the only place that you can access, so like if you're going to be dropping off guests to go to a DVC resort right now, Copper Creek and Boulder Ridge both drop off at Wilderness Lodge, correct? So
yes.
If this is further away from Wilderness Lodge, do they have to? I mean, I would guess, they need either a tram, or an internal bus system for Wilderness Lodge, or maybe they need to, maybe there's another area that they're going to expand out into that we're not looking at here.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering, because I think there is a lot of land around there, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, and there's some maps here, but I'm actually, no joke, as we speak, typing in Wilderness Lodge into Google Earth just to look here. But I'm pretty sure there's a fair amount of land. I mean, I'm just looking at it. There's a lot of land there in between.
Yeah, there's lots of space between there and Magic Kingdom, even between there and the Contemporary. It's a pretty large space. So,
well, just even in between Wilderness Lodge and Wilderness Lodge, because I've done the thing where I don't know if you're
for Wilderness.
Before, I'm sorry, Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness. I've done the thing before where you rent the Surrey bike, and we actually rode over to to Fort Wilderness, and it's just woods basically. So there's a good amount of space over there. I think they could probably build something decently large if you could. It's funny, Google Earth shows it as still kind of not filled in. I might have been making up that thing about the train. It is pretty close to Fort Wilderness. I thought there was a train. I could have swore there was, but
I think it was just there was a tram that you could take.
Yeah, it was something like that. Well, but there's a good amount of land there, so I don't know. I just think it's interesting that there's a canceled DVC resort that was supposed to be a Fort Wilderness DVC resort, and now all of a sudden they're checking out the land where River Country used to be, which is kind of right in the area they were looking at. So I don't know. It just seems like that would make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so knowing all of this right now, so that this is my speculation.
I like speculation. I love speculation on the show. So.
Yeah. And I will laugh if this comes true, but I'm probably going to be totally off, but not this year's D23. It'll be next year's D23. They will announce something with this property if there's going to be anything DVC centric with it.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, D23 is like it's kind of like a media event where they do a lot of these announcements, like Star Wars Land was announced at D23 years ago. So, and I believe they happen in July. I think it was in July.
I'm trying to remember the last time when we did our D23 show. It was so long ago, it feels like.
Yeah. It was sometime last year, but I'm betting you won't hear anything about it this year because obviously there's just assessing it now. But I almost, I'm going to come back and listen to this like a year from now and go, did they actually announce anything for this property at that time? Because I'm betting if they're going to do anything with it, you'll hear about it next year.
I think you're right with that. I mean, we haven't always been the best with predictions on this show, especially, the gondola on like our first or second show that we ever did. We're like, that's not going to happen. Although you believed it. It's just Damon and I were so skeptical. You were all about it.
Yeah, I knew it made sense. So
I thought it made sense at the time. I just didn't think they were going to do it. But that's besides the point. But my other question would be, if they don't put a resort there and they put something else, is there something else you would want to see there?
Honestly, I don't know what they could even put there that would fit, because for me, it's not just about, they could definitely throw, another theme park or not a theme park, but like some kind of building there. But the question for me is that does it actually fit with the theme of the area? Because Wilderness Lodge it's all very specifically themed. It's supposed to be that Pacific Northwest kind of feel to it. And for them to put something else literally in between Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness that doesn't fit with that theme, I can't imagine what it would be as far as anything other than a resort building.
Yeah, I agree. I have no idea what they would put besides putting a new resort there. I mean, and who knows? Maybe they put nothing. Maybe they drill holes in the ground and find out that it's too marshy and they can't build anything there. So who knows? Maybe nothing will go there. Yeah. So, but I'd be interested to see what happens. So. I mean, stay tuned basically, because, just because they're making borings in the ground doesn't mean that it's going to turn out to be anything. They're kind of doing the same thing by Epcot right now. We've been talking about a hotel over there. So who knows? I mean, could be a lot of things.
Well, the thing is with that Epcot hotel, it seems to be more and more leaning towards something is going to happen there. Right? Whether it's a hotel or not, the Epcot needs that kind of love anyway. Yep. So, but yeah, like I said, I do find it, I'm glad that at least Fort Wilderness, or not Fort Wilderness, but River Country is getting some attention, because obviously people want to believe that, when these things shut down, they're beloved and all that, and people don't want to see them forgotten. And it seems like it has been forgotten for a long time, but I feel that, Disney's smart. They know that there's a time and a place for doing these kinds of activities. And for a long time, I'm sure it didn't make sense for them to do it. And there could have been a multitude of reasons as to why they didn't do it. But I'm glad to see that, if they take this and they turn it into a resort, I can guarantee you there will be some kind of memorabilia or something. Yeah, there will be a homage to river country in there somewhere, which I think is great. I think it's great that they do that because, people can go back and kind of relive those memories of stuff that has shut down. And I'm hearing Damon's voice in the back of my head going, don't touch anything. Just, yeah. And I don't think that's fair. I kind of understand why Disney does things the way they do. The other thing, though, so this is kind of a sideline to this as well, is that I believe where River Country is, very close to there's an island,
Discovery Island.
That
yes.
It was called Discovery Island, which is another site that Disney abandoned, and it was actually like Animal Kingdom 1.0 is basically what it was. And but again, that area is kind of sat abandoned, and I like to think it's like Jurassic Park, where the animals are still there and
found a way.
It's actually dangerous.
Life found a way on the island, and yeah,
exactly.
That's another place that people like to break into too, which is a terrible idea considering that Bay Lake is just filled with alligators and snakes and crocodiles. Is crocodiles or alligators? I always mix those two up.
I don't remember, but either way, they're large lizards, and I wouldn't mess with them.
And the only way to get there really is to swim over there. So you don't want to do that.
Or, a small boat, they would notice you doing that. So,
exactly.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. But either way, so anyone listening to this, don't get any ideas for, if they say no trespassing, respect that, because it's not just because they don't want you back there. It's because there's legitimately things that could hurt you.
Yeah, and don't blame us for giving you the idea either. So, but the one last thing, I was just thinking how cool it would be if they did build this DVC resort there, and if the pool area was like a mini replica of what River Country used to have. How cool would that be?
Oh yeah, that would be cool actually. If they redid it as just a proper pool and not being fed from the water, but
just like some of the same kind of rides, like a mini version of it,
Yeah. So their pool is just an old, or that's the homage to River Country, right? So
yeah, I think that would be really cool. But anyway, so we talked about that for almost 20 minutes, but that's okay. That's a cool topic. It's an interesting topic. I'm interested to see what they do with it. There's so many things they could do. So
exactly. Now let's talk about a hot topic.
Oh, really? This is a hot topic? I hadn't seen anything posted about it in any Disney group this week.
Never at all this last week. So
the outrage of the week, Trevor. It's the outrage of the week.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, if you don't know, I'm honestly quite surprised. Disney hotels will start charging for overnight parking for hotel guests, but this does not include DVC members. So DVC has said that as part of being a DVC member, we still continue to get free parking, which I think that's great. I think that's a great perk of being a DVC member. And they even state that we get the parking whether we're staying on points or cash. So the interesting thing to me is that if you're I think this is where they've kind of started making those changes to, the rules around DVC contracts, the minimum buy-ins to get the perks and all that kind of stuff. I feel like this is one of those things where if you don't have your card, which means if you bought a resale and you don't actually have the DVC member card, they're going to tell you, no, you can't have free parking, which I can see that upsetting some people.
For sure. It's going to definitely upset some people. Yeah.
But as far as the parking goes, it's really not that bad. So the rates on it were, it's $13 a night if you stay at a value resort, $19 for a moderate, and $24 for a deluxe resort.
I get it's not terrible.
It's not that bad.
And that's the thing. It's like, this is not, I know people are outraged about this, but I also feel like if it had been this way the whole time, then no one would be outraged, because it's the whole idea of change, right? Like Universal's resorts have always charged for parking, always. Like they just always have. And tons of resorts in Orlando charge for parking. it's a reality of the hotel industry these days. I mean, it just is. I mean,
well, and this isn't exclusive to hotels either. I mean, I don't know about where you live, but where I live, like paying for parking downtown is a thing. Like there's no such thing as free parking. And I guess the way I look at this too is that Disney could have done this one of two ways. They could have, just started telling people they're paying for parking, or they could have raised the rates of the room to account for that paying for parking. The reasoning behind it, and I think this is what a lot of people don't realize, is that, those parking lots, they don't maintain themselves.
It does cost money.
They do need, they do occasionally need to do maintenance on them. And this money that goes into, paying for it is so that they can redo concrete when concrete starts to fail, when they can, do expansion, fix things up, make sure that it doesn't, it doesn't, look like a gravel pad that you're parking
exactly.
on, right?
Well,
So,
and you could even argue too, it maybe even pays for the security guard that's at the gate there too. I mean, that's part of it too. I mean, you're paying for, I mean, your car is secure when it's there because there's security. You can only come in if you're a guest there, if you're picking up a guest. It's not something that anybody can just drive into at any time. They're pretty secure with those places. What I do think is interesting about the DVC part of this is that, so like you said before, we as DVC members will not have to pay for parking when we're staying on points or cash, as long as it's at a DVC resort. And also not pay the fee if we're staying at points on non-DVC resorts. So if we use our points, which is, not a good use of points, but that's a whole other show. But to use your points at another resort that's not DVC, you still wouldn't pay for the parking. But I do believe if you're staying cash at a non-DVC resort, you would have to pay, from what I've seen. But I know there's some confusion about it, but that is a thing. So if you just decide I'm going to do a cash trip to, Wilderness Lodge, and you stay at the actual lodge, you would still have to pay for parking at that resort.
Yeah, and I would expect that. I mean, because people seem to forget that, DVC and Disney hotels, they're not, even though they're sharing the same space, they're not the same entity.
They're separate companies, technically.
I shouldn't, they are separated. And so I should expect that, if I'm staying at somewhere that is not DVC, that, they're going to tell me to pay for parking like everybody else. And like you said, that's even, I don't go over to Universal and go, hey, flash my DVC card and go, hey, you guys are giving me free parking, right? Like,
that'd be pretty fun.
It's hard to make that disassociation when it's, the same company, but I mean, DVC is DVC, and rightfully so. We're paying for that privilege of not having to pay for parking. But yeah, if I go and stay at, Pop Century, I expect I'm going to pay for parking.
Yeah, and truth be told, I'm kind of surprised Disney took so long to get on this bandwagon, to be honest, because like we were talking about, so many other resorts in Orlando charge for parking. This is not a thing that they're inventing. This is something that has been around and is happening more frequently. And a lot of people will point to it and say it's a money grab, and it, in ways is, for sure. But it's also, another source of revenue for them. And nobody wants to pay more money. I get that. I don't want to pay more money. You don't want to pay more money. Nobody wants to. But it's funny because, like you were talking about, no one complains when they go to the airport and they have to pay for a week of parking. It's just expected. Right. So that's, in my mind, that's what I'm saying. Like, if this was like this way the whole time, I don't think anybody would complain about it. Like, nobody complains about having to pay for parking when you go to the parks if you're not staying at a Disney hotel. That's just expected. Right. So I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I like that they tiered it, based on the resort level that you're staying at, to make sure it's affordable for everybody. I think that's a good thing. And I do like that, we are getting it for free as DVC members. I've seen a lot of people that are feeling a little pessimistic, and they go, well, yeah, how long is that going to last? How long till they start charging DVC members too? And, they might someday. I don't know. But, at the same time, even if they did, I mean, it's not going to cause me to change my vacation plans. I'm not going to be like, I'm never going to Disney again because I have to pay for parking. If I did that with all the things I have to pay for parking for, there's a lot of places I wouldn't go to anymore. Right. So.
And I mean, yeah, that's that same thing for me is, I pay to have my car sit for a week at the airport when I fly down to Disney, and I'm fully prepared for that when I come back.
Exactly.
So if I was that hung up about it, I wouldn't go to the airport. But and I guess here's the other thing too is, when you're looking at the values for these, I mean, So $13 a night, you can get an Uber for about the same price as that. So I guess it's a matter of, do you want to have your own car and, you know, the freedom of going back and forth, or do you want to, you know, get on a Disney bus and use their bus system, which of course comes with its own pitfalls and all that, or pay for an Uber? So, I mean, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's, you know, that $13 for, if you're staying at a value, 19 at a moderate, it's really not that big of a deal. Like you still end up, if you choose alternate modes of transportation, you end up paying about that much anyway, and nobody seems to get upset about that. So
yeah, I would agree. I do. I'm thinking to myself too, I wonder, because Disney does a lot of things for, I don't want to say for economic reasons, that's not what I'm thinking, to motivate guest behavior, right? I'm wondering if they're trying to push some people away from the resorts. I don't know, like from staying at the resorts, because they feel like they're going to get overbooked, or they're already overbooked based on how many people are. I mean, because I know Disney runs like mid-90s and occupancy rates already. And I wonder if this is maybe a measure to deter people a little bit from staying on site. I don't know. I know that sounds crazy, but they do the same thing with the parks, where they try to deter people just by raising the prices. That's partly to make more money, but it's also partly to lower crowds. So I don't know. That's, I know, a crazy theory, but I mean, I think it's possible, at least. Well,
and I guess maybe the other side of that too is, you know, when you're talking about transportation to and from the parks, if everybody, you know, has free parking, and it gets to a point where, you know, if I'm going down there and I go, well, you know, I'd rather just rent a car and, you know, go to, like, you know, drive around instead of using the bus. The problem with that is that it gets to a point where the buses are they're not utilized, but then the parking lots are ridiculous because there's so many people getting in and out. And I don't know, like I remember when I was there in September that, you know, getting out of Magic Kingdom right after the fireworks, or right after close, when everybody is at the transportation and ticket center, and it's just wall-to-wall traffic. And even the bus that we were on, the bus was having difficulty getting to where it needed to go because of just the sheer volume of cars. So yeah, maybe this is, like you said, maybe this is part of a deterrent, because, you know, not having as many vehicles there does actually increase the overall happiness of everybody, because, you know, buses run faster, stuff like that. And as I was saying all this, something else clicked in my head, is that they do have new alternate modes of transportation coming with the gondolas.
Yep.
So maybe this is also kind of conditioning people to go, well, I'm just going to use, you know, Disney transportation and not bring my own vehicle or rent a car or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And, you know, and also too, for just the fact, like you were talking about, if you think about it this way too, when you pay that parking fee at your resort, you also park for free at the parks if you want to go there. So it's like it's basically a cheaper way of paying for your parking for the resort, for the actual parks too. Now I get it, you got it for free before, but it's now, you know, the same way, where you're still paying this fee, but you're not having to pay to park at the park. So if you don't want to use those transportation options, you can still use your car from the resort to drive to the parks. So, and not have to pay for parking. So I think you're right, because I think half the time when the buses are late, or they're, you know, take a long time to get somewhere, it's because there's a lot of traffic on the roads, and it's because there's a lot of people that drive their car to the parks, and it makes it a little overcrowded and a little difficult. And, you know, parking lots also take up huge swaths of land. It's a lot of space. So I think the more that they can get people to use their mass transportation options, the better it's going to be for overall guest happiness, and of course, you know, for the bottom line too. Disney is a business, and, you know, they do need to make money, and you know, this is another way they can make money. It's you know, a fee-based business too. So that's part of this. So I know it's, a lot of people are upset about it, and I understand why people are upset about it. A lot of people spend a lot of time saving for Disney, and, you know, not everybody, Disney's an expensive place to go. And so it takes a long time to save up for Disney for a lot of people. So I understand why people are like, oh, another charge, you know, I get it. But I think it's more of just a shock of the change. And I think it's not going to be as big of a deal, basically, when, you know, when it actually goes into place. So
And really, in 6 months or a year, people are going to be accustomed to it anyway.
Exactly. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Once after a little while, once the change is into place, then people are just like, oh, well, this is the way it is now, right? So, all right. Well, I think that's enough talking about parking. I'm kind of tired of talking about parking.
Yeah, I saw enough about parking this week too.
My entire newsfeed on Facebook was all parking related posts. So, but anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, Reunion Station. We talked about this, I don't know how many podcasts ago. It was not necessarily a rumor then, it was announced, but there weren't a lot of details about this. And what this is like a lounge at, for those that don't know, it's a DVC member lounge that's going to be at Wilderness Lodge. Well, really Copper Creek / Wilderness Lodge, let's say, at the new restaurant that they built down by the water there, whose name is escaping me at the moment. But basically, this is going to be like a club level type of experience. So there's not a ton of DVC club level rooms in the system. And so this is almost making up for that. And basically what it's going to be, it's a room that's exclusive to DVC members, but it is a premium option. So basically you pay $50 a night and for adults, $33 a night for kids, age 3 to 9. You do have to purchase it for the entire length of your stay. But again, think of this like if you were paying club level prices, right? So if you were going to book a club level room for cash, you're going to pay about that much extra per night for those privileges to have the club level rooms. And so what this is, it's basically a little lounge that's going to, like, in the morning, we'll have pastries, fruits, cereal, juice. So from like 7 to 10, it has, like little breakfast items at 7 to 10 a.m. And then in the afternoon, in the evening, it has a wine and beer and like cheeses and salads, soups, desserts, that kind of stuff. And then, and so you pay for that, and basically, it just includes that food. I did it on my honeymoon, and it was great to do one time. I don't know if I'd pay for it again. But for my honeymoon, it was awesome because, you could go in there, you could grab a bunch of sodas, you could grab some pastries, and then get yourself to the park. But it was a great little thing to do that one time. I don't know if I'd do it again, but that's kind of what it's like. The part about this I really like is from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., it's going to be open to everybody when I say everybody, I mean all DVC members, for a complimentary mix and mingle type of situation, which is great because I feel like they used to do a member mixer like a couple times a week that you could go to, and they kind of stopped doing that. And I think this is a great addition to that. So now we know some more details,
So I guess my thing, I should say this first, is that I have never stayed anywhere club level before, so I don't really have a good point of reference on this. But from what you're saying, it sounds like, it's basically, it's a lounge with prepaid food that you can go in and you can make use of however you see fit, which sounds good, I guess, on paper. But again, this is also my own preference for how I do Disney and all that, is that, I would maybe go down there in the morning and grab, dessert, or not dessert, grab breakfast and a couple of snacks and whatever. But then I'm off everywhere else the rest of the day. I'm going to different places, doing experiences, going to parks and stuff like that. Would I be back in the evening to make use of it? I don't know if I would. So to me, the thing is that $50 a night per adult, that's kind of steep.
It's really steep.
Even really steep. For a family of 3. And so like I have me and my wife and my son who is now 10. So he doesn't even qualify for the $33 a night. That's $150 a day just to make use of this lounge.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's that's only for a family of 3. I mean, if you're going like, larger size family like Damon's, you're talking $250 a day. And that's the other thing too, is that it there's no negotiating it. It's purely, you got to pay it for the entire trip. So, if you're there for a week, you're in well over $1,000 just for the sake of having access to snacks and drinks and stuff like that.
And I'll tell you, when we did it on our honeymoon, we were there every morning for breakfast because it was great for breakfast. And we maybe went there once or twice in the evening because most of the time from 4 to 6 p.m. we're having dinner in the parks, right? We're not back at the hotel. So for me, definitely not worth it. I would definitely not spend the money for this. Me personally, I mean, but I definitely would try to go to the 7 to 10 p.m. Complimentary mixer. I'm for all things complimentary.
Yeah, and again, that's like a one-time thing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
I guess that's my thing with this is that, you know what, yeah, I would kind of, you know, hit it up once or twice, but I guess you also have to look at the type of trip that you're doing. If you're only there for a couple of days, like let's say you're down there for, you know, something else where you happen to be staying at a DVC resort for a couple of days, like, you know, going to a cruise or whatever, maybe that makes sense because maybe you're not planning to go into the parks. So, you know, you're going to be staying around the resort. It would be nice to just have access to something like that. I can see that making sense. But, you know, if you're planning on being out and about, you're never going to come back to the resort just to get free food because the time that you waste trying to get back to the resort for that doesn't really justify the cost at that point, or it doesn't in my mind. I know some people would say it would, but to me, I don't want to stop what I'm doing and uproot everything because I want to go running back to the resort because I want to go get a free
beer. So I'm going to run back to forget everything else. We're just going to go get a free beer. It's not even free though. You're paying $150 for that beer, you know? So.
Exactly. And explaining that to your kids too, when, you know, they're in line for Space Mountain or something, that sorry, we got to go back to the hotel.
This is where I wish Damon was on this episode. Cause I feel like Damon usually likes these like exclusive type of things. And I feel like Damon was in favor of this when we talked about it on the previous episode. So I would have loved to hear him go for it, but I don't know.
Well, and that's where, you know, I'm trying to offer that other perspective of, you know, for myself and how I'm doing things at the moment, it doesn't make sense to me. If I'm ever in a position where I'm down there for, you know, 2-3 days, I may actually seriously look at it because yeah, it would make sense. And again, you know, this is one of those things that I don't think it was designed to be for everybody, because if it was offered to everybody, you would have all the people that are staying at DVC down in this lounge trying to make use of it.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, they don't want that. So yeah, it makes sense that, you know, it's meant to be like a top tier experience. It's meant to be something that, you know, that club level access, which, like you said, they have it at
yes.
Animal Kingdom.
That's where we did it.
And it sounds good. Yeah. And so it sounds good that, you know, they're trying to offer this at Wilderness Lodge, and maybe this is them looking at ways to expand it so that when you are staying at these resorts, if you choose to, you know, not necessarily be going off to parks and stuff like that, you can just enjoy the resort and you can enjoy that club level experience without having to limit your options to where you stay.
Yeah, agreed. And I do wonder, though, if this isn't successful, because this, in a lot of ways, is a test, right? They have club level rooms where it's built into the price, so you don't really feel it as much when you do those rooms, because you just get, you know what I mean? It's not like there's not as much of a number figure on it. You're just paying more for the room, kind of like what we were talking about with the parking. If they just would have thrown the parking into the rate, regardless. But I wonder if this test doesn't go well, if they do try to move this to a top of the world type of situation where anybody can go in it, but anything that's in there you have to pay for, like a la carte type of thing. I don't know. I could see that happening if it doesn't go well, or them just stopping it altogether and just using it for like premium events in there. I don't know. I do think it's interesting though.
Yeah, I think part of it comes down to how well they market it, because I mean, if you look at Wilderness Lodge, it's not directly attached to any major park or anything. So they have to kind of make sure that they sell this to people that, hey, this is an option. This is something we can use here. Because if they just leave it there, people are going to, you know, they're going to be looking at their hotel rooms and they're going to be like, and what's this $50 thing? No, I don't want that. Like they need to make sure that people understand what it is and understand what the benefit of it. Otherwise, you're right, it will fail.
Yeah. Because
nobody wants to pay, you know, a couple $100 a day just for snacks.
What would make this worth it for me is if I could go back to my room and then call them up and be like, yeah, give me some like beer and some pastries and bring it to my room. Like, you know what I mean? That might make it worth it. Like after my feet hurt all day and I don't, you know, from walking all day and I don't want to walk down there again. It's just, hey, just bring it up to my room, and that might make it worth it. But that's it.
That's actually a very good point. If they could figure out a way to make this work, that you can limit how much additional walking and having to grab stuff, that they can just bring it all to you.
Delivery service.
I might consider that.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's all our
exactly.
DVC stuff for this week. DVC doesn't have a ton of news every week, but this was a pretty busy week as far as DVC goes. So there were some interesting things. But a couple podcasts ago, and I don't remember specifically which one, we talked about that Disney was getting rid of the childcare centers at the various resorts. And they said, listen, we're going to put something else in place. We promise we're going to do this. We're going to have something else. And now we actually know what that something else is. And I have to say, reading about this, I kind of want to go. So just for those that don't know, basically what this is, it's a Pixar play zone is what it's called, and it's going to be at the Contemporary, and it's like themed obviously to Pixar. And basically the idea is it's a, I don't want to say that's like a place where you can drop your kids off so you can go do stuff at night, but it kind of is. And basically, there's a bunch of different rooms there. The kids are going to be able to play with, Pixar characters from Toy Story, The Incredibles. There's going to be all sorts of different activities. They can build their own race car. They can, there's desserts, there's food. It's for kids ages 4 to 12. The doors open at 5 p.m. for check-in, and then basically it lasts from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and it's $65 per child plus tax. Now, I do not have any children at the moment, but I was looking at that and I thought my first thought to myself, I was like, wow, that's a little expensive. And then I was thinking, wait a second, 6 to 10 is like 4.5 hours. Like, how much would you pay for a babysitter for 4.5 hours? I don't know what the going rate is these days, but probably $65. Am I wrong?
Okay, so here's my thing with this is that, it's not just a daycare service. It's also like you've got the characters there, but it's meant to be engaging for the kids, right? Like, I remember with the daycare centers is, you look in there and it was just, a cast member sitting with the kids, but it was like a standard daycare center, even though it was themed nice and everything. It didn't really there wasn't really anything else to it. And I'm sure a lot of people's kids were probably bored being there for 2 or 3 hours. And that's the other thing too, is that, this thing is meant to last, 3 to 4 hours for the whole experience. And there's a lot of stuff that these kids get to do for the cost of it. For $65, they get to do something kind of unique, and I'm sure it'll keep them engaged. And that way mom and dad can go and have a night to themselves. But then the kids come back and they're like, it seems like it kind of works best for both sides. And I can understand why Disney would want to do this instead of just the daycare centers, because the daycare centers were just so, I mean, it's like any other daycare center.
Daycare centers.
It just wasn't. It didn't seem like something. It wasn't something like for me that I would ever want to, drop my kid off at, especially when I'm at Disney. Like, I understand people want a night out and everything, but this seems like a lot better alternative to what they were offering before.
Yeah, and if I had a younger child, I think I'd probably take advantage of this. I think the price point is not all that outrageous. I think it's probably right on par, and I think it would probably be nice to have a night out, by yourself. And then also, it just seems like it would be a really cool experience for the kid, like you're talking about. It's not just like a regular daycare. It's a really cool kind of, situation that you're doing. I mean, you're doing Space Ranger training, and you get to be junior space rangers, and there's sing-alongs, and it just seems really cool and fun. Like I was saying before, jokingly, but kind of serious. I kind of want to do it. Kind of looks like fun. If they don't let adults there, I'd be in.
I would build a soapbox derby car,
right? Wouldn't you? Yeah. They need to make an adult version of this, and then I'm in. Premium event.
Maybe we'll ask for that for the next thing. Is can you make an adult range thing, where maybe we put the kids somewhere else and then we go and do this.
That's a great idea. I'm all for it. I'm here for that for sure. Well, I'm glad that they decided to. I mean, I took them for their word when they said that they were going to put out something new, because this is, a lot of parents were disappointed about it. And I can understand that. And I think it makes a lot of sense to put it at the Contemporary, because you're right by Magic Kingdom. There's a lot of great romantic restaurants you could eat at right by Magic Kingdom, so I think it's a good place for it. It would be nice if they put it in multiple places, and maybe they will. Maybe this is kind of a, Disney loves to do their test balloons, where they try something and then see how it works out and then expand it. I could see this being one of those cases where they eventually expand this to other resorts, so there's more accessibility to it and there's more ability for people to go, and check this out. So I think this is cool. I'm excited about this for parents that have kids. Of course, I won't be able to use this. My child will be coming sometime in April or May, and it's for kids aged 4 to 12. So for me, I won't be using it for at least 4 years. So
well, and by then maybe there will be a bunch of different ones you can choose from. So.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. How cool would it be to do one at like Animal Kingdom that was like animal themed? Instead of like Pixar, you make it, or you could even do it like Lion King or Bug's Life, or you could do any of those types of things, and you can make it themed to that instead of just Pixar. There's a lot of things they could do with this idea. So
here's another thought too: is they've got that Star Wars hotel coming that's an interactive experience. What happens if they have a condensed kids version of it? Oh
yeah, right.
Yeah,
where the kids just hang out and they get taught. They kind of do like that.
Jedi training. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They do the Jedi training, and that would be really cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so you're right. There's tons of potential for this, and I hope it does well. I hope that these kinds of things become more of an option, because again, maybe it goes beyond just, daycare for your kids into, actual experiences for them and like things that you can kind of tailor to what you want what your kid wants to experience. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Well, so since we're talking about premium things and extra premium things, there was recently, and this is not something that appeals to me, but I know you and Damon are more water park people, so maybe this appeals to you guys. But so Disney's announced something called H2O Glow Nights. And it's a ticketed event. It's going to be at Typhoon Lagoon. It's going to be at night, obviously. And I always kind of see this as like Disney doing a paid version that's open up to everybody of the Moonlight Magic events they've been doing for DVC. It seems similar to that, but with some other things added in there, of course. But on certain summer nights, starting June 21st, they're going to do like special lighting effects that's going to transform Typhoon Lagoon to kind of a Pixar type of park with and based on that short that if you haven't seen that short, Party Source Rex, which is a great short, really really great short, and that's kind of what it's based on. So they're going to do like dance parties and play party games. You can meet Buzz, Woody, Jesse. All the attractions will be open, and basically, they'll probably have some food and stuff like that, although I don't see that in the announcement anywhere. But it's a separate ticketed event, like we were talking about. It's not included with your daytime admission, so you do have to pay. But it's $55 for adults, $50 for children, 3 to 9. I don't know. Would you guys be, as a water park family, would you guys be interested in doing something like this, or because we're DVC members and you have Moonlight Magic, does this not appeal to you because you could just do a Moonlight Magic event that's just like this?
Well, actually, because of the time of year, I don't know if I'd ever see myself being down there to enjoy this kind of thing, because summer months it's extremely hot, and so for me, it's not. I'll get into that a little bit more, the whole heat thing in a bit, but
it's rough during the summer. It is rough.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, for $50 or $55 a night, that's about the same cost as regular admission, isn't it? So you're basically just paying to go there at night instead of going there during the day.
Yeah, and you're paying for all the special parts, right? All the meet and greet and the fun stuff that they do that's extra, right? Yeah,
and I mean, for me, it's, I think I've said this before, is, attractions are different at night. Like it's a lot more exciting to do some of these things at night. So I would be interested in it. Again, even without doing Moonlight Magic stuff, this sounds like it's a very, again, tailored thing. I know Moonlight Magic, they kind of offer things, but it's never really like a set theme. And this definitely seems like something, if you're a Toy Story fan, it looks like it would be a lot of fun. So I would consider paying for it if I was down there during this time.
Yeah, but if you're down there during that time, for sure, because it's miserably hot. Yep. So that's what I always go is like June, July, August, and it's just the worst as far as weather goes. So,
and really,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, like going to the water parks during the day, it's hot. And I mean, I know you're in the water and everything, but it's still very uncomfortable because it's even in the water, it's still really, really warm. Going at night when it's actually cooler and you can actually, enjoy yourself a little bit more. I would pay for that.
That's a good point. And you're also paying for not having lines too, right? I mean, being able to enjoy those attractions without waiting online. That's what a lot of these things, that's what the after hours thing that they do at Magic Kingdom is all about, right? That's a really expensive one, but the whole idea of that is having a couple hours of basically having the park to yourself, right? So some people are willing to pay for that premium. I don't think I would do it for this particular event just because I'm not a water park person and we don't do water parks really. But I could see it for people that like water parks.
Yeah. And actually that's the other thing too, is so right now I have an annual pass, and because water parks are included in that annual pass, that would actually affect my thoughts on this as well, because, I don't have to pay to get in there during the day, but paying for this as a separate event. If I didn't have the annual pass, I would actually pick this over just going to one of the water parks for a normal day. Like I would forgo going during the day at all and just say, let's go to this evening event.
That's a good point. And like you said, the rides are different at night. It's cooler out. It's probably going to be more enjoyable, and there's going to be more fun things going on. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to your segment now. We're getting towards the end here. And our new favorite segment, which is Traveling with Trevor. So what are you talking about this week?
Actually, so the last part about heat was kind of my segue into this. So I actually wanted to talk about going down to Disney World as an international traveler and as coming from a climate where we have winter for about 8 months a year. So,
wow, I didn't realize it was 8 months a year.
Yeah, it's actually snowing outside right now. It's March and it's snowing right now. So the snow doesn't stop here until April, beginning of May, and then it can even go longer than that. So because of that, when we come down there, like we tend to try and go down during cooler times. So March kind of time frame. But even with that, it's still really, really hot compared to what we have here. So, again, as an international traveler and coming from the north, you do have to think about these things. And I learned this kind of the hard way when I was there back in September. Because I kind of forgot because I'm sure as people who have listened to the podcast know, it was like 10 years between when I went last time and when I went in the September. And I really forgot how hot and how bad it can get in Florida. So we weren't
on Earth.
we weren't totally prepared for it. And so again, when you guys are getting ready to go traveling, you do actually want to think about these things. So we did bring water bottles, and you do have to obviously make sure you've got lots of water. Like we actually carried around these Contigo 24-ounce water bottles, and we had them full like all the time. And even at that, we still managed. There was one day where I actually had to just go lay down in the hotel room because I was just so hot and so exhausted that I couldn't handle it anymore, and I needed to go have a nap for like 2 hours. So,
jeez.
Yeah. So you don't realize it when you're used to your summertime, wherever you're coming from, that it can be hot, but this is a different kind of hot. It's very humid. it's just, yeah, it's muggy and all of that. And so, I did try my best to plan for these things when we were down there. And there was a few things that I learned when we were down there that on this next trip, I'm going to make sure that I'm a little more prepared. And again, I'm still experimenting with it. I'm still trying to figure out, the best way to make ourselves comfortable when we're down there. But we are going, we're going in May again, which is, same kind of time frame as September for heat. Like it's going to be into the 80s and 90s. And so things, and I guess this doesn't even necessarily apply to international travelers, because I mean, really anybody going down there, you should be prepared for it. So first of all, I guess, so for you, Tom, sunscreen. Do you use SPF 60?
oh my gosh. I slather myself in sunscreen every morning. We have like this morning ritual when we go where we just, completely cover ourselves in the highest SPF we can get from head to toe. Yeah. Because we've gotten burned on the first day of vacation before, and it is the worst.
And that was exactly my point, is that you don't realize how bad it is. And I know some people, they go, oh, I only need like a 15 or a 30, and they get down there and you get burned the first day and it sucks. And you end up spending, the next 3 or 4 days being uncomfortable and all of that. And just making it sounds really, overkill, but get some good sunscreen. Make sure that you're putting it on every day, sometimes even a couple times a day. Like if you're going in the pool, make sure that you reapply it, because you're not used to that kind of sun, and it will burn you very easily. I'm sorry.
Can I just throw in there too? I try to wear a hat all the time. Some of us out there, have receding hairlines and bald spots. So if you don't, I've gotten burned on the top of my head before, and it is the worst. So I try to often wear a hat to avoid getting burned on my head, and also to shield my face a little bit too.
That's a good point too, is definitely cover up and don't be afraid to wear a hat, because everybody else there is wearing a hat. Like you're not going to stand out by wearing a hat. A couple of things that I did learn this last time too is, there are ways to keep yourself cool as you're walking around, because the other thing that happens too is you're walking around on pavement, and the pavement's radiating heat. So you're getting twice as hot as what you would, being at a beach or, just like walking around normally. So I found that one thing that a lot of people recommend, and I found this on forums and whatnot when I was looking around before my trip, is you can get they're chili towels, but I think the big brand that people tend to recommend they're called Frog Togs or something like that. But you can find any brand of them. And basically what it is it's a towel that it's a microfiber thing. You get it wet, and when you snap it out, it draws away the heat really quickly, so that when you apply it to your skin, it actually feels like almost ice cold water. So these things, when we were on our trip, they were fantastic, because you could be standing in line, and as long as you had, a little bit of water with you, you could get these things wet, snap them out, put them around your neck, and it just helps keep you cool and keeps you so that, you're not getting a headache, and you're not getting to that point where you can't stand it. So I would highly recommend finding those for anybody that's coming from a winter or a colder climate. They may be hard to find this time of year, but I found if you go to like anywhere that sells like sporting equipment, basically, you should be able to find these kinds of chili towels. The other thing that I recommend too is some kind of fan. So various people say, the hand fans are great because, they're light and easy to transport and everything. But you can also get the little battery operated fans, which you can actually put a little bit of water in them, and you can spray it so that it mists and fans you at the same time. The combination of the fans and the chili towels, I think, is really good to, keep you sane while you're down there. And
heat makes people crazy.
it does. I mean, it really does affect your your whole trip. It changes how you think about things. It makes, even though you're in Disney World and you're supposed to be happy, it can make you really grumpy and, not thinking straight. So, doing a couple of preventative things because you're not used to the heat and you're not used to dealing with it down there. If you can stop it from getting to that point where, it's making you unhappy, it just makes your trip overall a lot more happy. So yeah, I mean, that's my thing for this week as I'm staring out the window at the snow is, make sure you're prepared for the heat when you get down.
You're dreaming about the heat right now, though. That's a welcome change.
I
right?
am.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. So,
well, and I'll say too, I just to add to what you're saying, I have a rule. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast before, but after getting dehydrated several times at Disney parks, I started a rule the last 2 trips where every time I see a water fountain, I drink from it. Now, given the water fountain's not always cold water, but it's water nonetheless, and it reminds me that I need to constantly drink water. So literally, when we're walking around the parks, if I see a water fountain or my wife sees a water fountain, we both say water fountain, and then we go take a drink of water for 30 seconds or whatever. And it's just a reminder that we need to drink water. So,
and actually, that is a good point. So the water fountains are great, and actually, so for anybody that wants to know, I found that in the Tortuga Tavern, right outside of Pirates, they had a fantastic water fountain. It was so
really
cold.
Yeah,
it was great. But if you can't find a water fountain, any quick service will actually give you a cup of ice water if you ask them.
For free.
Yeah, for free. So you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to buy anything else to get it. You can just go up and ask for ice water. And they usually actually have a whole bunch of them. Like they pre-pour them ahead of time because even the people working there, they know they want to make sure that people aren't getting dehydrated. So take advantage of that ice water. And what we actually did too is we would stop for lunch or we would stop for snacks and whatever. As we were ordering our food, we would always, get 3 or 4 cups of ice water. We would drink whatever we could at the time, but then we would refill the water bottles that we had with us so that we had cold water again in our water bottles as we continue to walk around the park.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great way to do that. You could even just, like you were saying, just get that free water, put it in your water bottle, or walk around and drink it. Or, and I think a great tip too is know the rides that are inside and air conditioned. And, sometimes this is the times where you miss some of those long rides like Ellen's Energy Adventure, where you could have 45 minutes of air conditioning. It's a nice break, right? Yeah. It's a nice, or a Carousel of Progress is a great one for that. Yep.
That's a good one. And actually, I do have another story about this as well, because so here's what not to do when you're down there. So we were there. It was like our second last day, and we were in Magic Kingdom, and the Captain Jack Sparrow show was about to start, where he comes out and, talks to the kids and makes them honorary pirates and all that. So, our son really loved Jack Sparrow. And so we knew we had to stay around for it. But of course, the area where it was in the middle of, it was just out in the middle of nowhere. And there was nothing nearby for shade or anything like that. So we were standing out there for about 35 minutes between, waiting for the show and then actually having the show going and everything. And by the end of it, my wife and I were dying. It was way too hot. And us not being smart at the time, we kind of panicked. We're like, okay, it's way too hot. We have to get out of here. And so we immediately, started booking it towards Main Street, because we were like, we got to go back to the hotel and cool off and everything in the AC. But really what we should have done is we were about 50 feet from the tiki room. We should have actually gone into the tiki room at that point, because again, you could have it's somewhere out of the sun. We could have cooled down and at least, recharged in there for 10, 15 minutes instead of running from Adventureland to the main gates to get on a bus and go back to the hotel.
Exactly.
So yeah, you definitely, you're right. Is you want to kind of think about the rides and the attractions that are around you. And sometimes, you may be focused on, well, I just want to get on the rides, but those attractions like the Tiki Room, Carousel of Progress, any of those they're great as a place where you can just go and have a break and stop and get out of the sun. And sometimes you don't realize exactly how valuable that is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get a break out of that. I mean, the sun just saps your energy from you. So you got to take a break. You got to make sure you don't get dehydrated. I think half the time people think that they get like food poisoned at Disney World, but it's really that they're just dehydrated and they're getting themselves sick from not drinking water. So you just got to make sure you're drinking water and keeping yourself in good shape at the resorts, or else you're gonna have a really bad time. So
yeah, exactly. And like I said, coming from somewhere where we don't get that kind of heat, you don't actually account for how much it can affect your trip. And so like I said, knowing about it now and thinking about it ahead of time, I feel I'm a little more prepared, although time will tell, obviously, when we go down there. But I would like to think that, this time I at least know what I'm in for. So I won't be, so shocked by, 40 plus degree weather, or 40 Celsius, which I guess is like mid 90s.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, like mid 90s. It's the humidity too that kills you. So,
sorry, I should stop working in Celsius. I'm Canadian, and I keep trying to equate it all to Celsius, but yeah.
I probably don't. I mean, I wouldn't know the conversion on that if it were the other way around. So don't feel like you have to conform to us, Trevor.
Well, but I know everybody listening, I want you guys to have to do math because I'm talking in weird Canadian.
Canadian. That's funny. Well, thanks for that segment. I think that was great and interesting. So, we were going to do a speed round this show, but I think we'll just
still wanting.
I mean, Damon's the one that usually times these things and is like, really stringent about it. So let's do them quickly, but not timed. How about that?
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we don't actually have any rumors this week, which is kind of disappointing because there's just not any rumors going around right now. But there are some little news pieces that we want to hit on. We just don't want to talk about forever. So, for example, we've been talking about Club 33 lately, and we last episode we talked about a doorbell showing up at the American Adventure in Epcot. Well, another doorbell has shown up. I feel like this is a fun scavenger hunt that's starting to happen. So these doorbells are showing up. It's like, where's the next doorbell going to be? It's like a golden ticket. So another doorbell has shown up on the site of the right by the site of the former Catwalk Bar at Hollywood Studios, which has been closed for quite a long time. But it's right behind the Brown Derby, basically. So if you know where the Brown Derby is in Hollywood Studios, it seems to be that's where it's going to go. There's been mysterious construction going on at Magic Kingdom for a while in the Adventureland area, and that's starting to be built up. There's some rumors that location will have a viewing platform for Club 33 members to view fireworks from, which I think is super cool. I mean,
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great perk, right? If they were to actually have that. I don't know. What do you think of these locations? I like the other location, and I like where they're putting it in Adventureland. And I think making use of an area that was formerly a bar makes sense too. It's going to be right kind of in all the action, although a little far from Star Wars Land, but it's going to be, right kind of there in the beginning of the park.
Well, and again, Club 33 doesn't have to be in the middle of, the most popular part of the park. And that's kind of the point of it.
Sure.
So I mean, I think it's good that they're kind of putting them off to the side. As far as the one in Adventureland goes, it's actually in New Orleans Square in Disneyland, and you can see Rivers of America from there, which is where they do Fantasmic. So Club 33 actually is a prime viewing spot for something like for Fantasmic in Disneyland. I think it's fair that they're giving it kind of equal treatment in Disney World. Also, I thought that I heard something about in Animal Kingdom. I thought that there was rumors about something going in near Yak and Yeti.
I think it was Tiffin's. I think they were going to do Tiffin's.
Tiffin's. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, you're right, Tiffin's.
Yeah, I think they were going to take part of the, because Tiffin's is a pretty decent sized restaurant, and I think where the one in AK was going to go is in the Tiffin's area. I could be wrong about that, but that one really hasn't had much of an update lately. I feel like that no one's really talked about that one.
Well, and yeah, I mean, you're not going to hear about these until it's actually open and all of that. And I mean, even when they do, it's going to be only when somebody from Club 33 chooses to talk about it. So.
Yep, the first rule of Club 33 is don't talk about Club 33, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's not I mean, it's great for them. For the rest of us, I mean, I know it's there, and someday I will eat at Club 33. I don't know when. It's not going to be anytime soon.
We just need to get a fan to get us in. That's what it comes down to. We need a listener of this show to be like, I'm a Club 33, a member, and we're gonna get you in, and then we'll take a field trip.
So. Yeah, I will totally be down for that.
Me too. So any listeners out there, please feel free to hook us up. We talked last week about Wonders of Life at length, actually, about them fixing the roof and it not being open for the garden, one of my flower and garden festival this year. So there was some more credence to the rumors that they're actually going to do something with this space, because there was an internal job posting at Disney for an Imagineer, and it specifically says for Wonders of Life. And basically they're hiring an Imagineer who specializes in interior design. One of the main responsibilities of the job is listed as design and production of a shop, restaurant, or attraction. So I don't know. That makes this rumor seem more interesting to me. I don't know if that just means I really, really hope they're not just going to turn this into one big like store. Like I would hate that.
You mean Mouse Gear 2.0?
Yeah, that would make me really mad if they did. I would hate that so much. Like put some new attractions in there or something. Come on. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they will. I mean, we have no news to the contrary, but I just thought it was interesting that there is a job that's actually posted for an interior designer, Imagineer. If they were going to tear that place down, they would not be trying to hire somebody to redesign the place.
No, and like I said, I think I said this last time, is that I don't expect it to come back as Wonders of Life. I'm thinking that there will be something totally new that we're going to see go in there.
That makes total sense. And they really can. They can put something totally new in there. So anyway, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because we talked about it last week. But more interesting.
I want to talk about this next one.
Oh, you do? Okay, because I think this one's kind of hilarious because I do too. You don't really see Disney reverse course so quickly and stuff. Do you want to talk about it first? You could. I haven't introduced it.
I do because
go ahead.
I mean, this is kind of close to my love of Dole Whip. So Disney got rid of the Citrus Swirl at Sunshine Tree Terrace temporarily, and then they backpedaled on it because of outrage. So they replaced the Citrus Swirl with an orange swirl, which I guess is, it's closer to just like an orangey
flavor.
Sherbet. Yeah, versus the citrus, which was a mix of different things. And of course, people did not like it. And to me, this is on the same level of, if you messed with the Dole Whip, you would make a lot of people really upset. Like
riots.
Citrus Swirl is, it's on that same level. Like people have their favorites. If you want to like citrus or you want to like Dole Whip, like I'm an equal opportunist for your frozen desserts. But yeah, when you start messing with it, there's some things that it seems like the silliest little thing, but these are those things that people have memories of and fondness of. And when you start messing with them, this is how you get outrage. So, maybe next time Disney will actually ask first before they just start changing things.
I think it's just kind of funny because it seems like, so apparently the the Citrus Swirl was not vegan, and so they decided to make a new recipe that was vegan, which doesn't seem like it should have been a big problem. Like I doubt there was a lot of people going up there like, well, is the Citrus Swirl vegan? And they're like, no. And they lose hundreds of customers a day because of, like, it's weird to me that they even tried to do this.
Well, but I see the reasoning behind it because the whole not vegan thing is because I believe it's because there's eggs that are used in making it. So for somebody that was vegan, if they found out that there was something in it that they weren't wanting to eat, they could get very upset. And so it's kind of a respect thing, and I understand
I get that. Yeah,
they shouldn't have just done the quick switch and yank one out and put the other one in and pretend that it was okay. They should have kind of what they're doing now is they should have been offering both. They should have said, hey, here's your vegan or allergy specific menu, and then here's the other one, right? So
the funny thing is that the vanilla part of the orange swirl is not vegan. So the only part that's actually vegan is the orange part. And so it's worth noting though that they not only brought back the citrus swirl, but they also are offering the orange swirl. So they have both now. So both are available.
Right.
Yeah. So I just thought this was a hilarious story. Just like people get upset about that kind of stuff. You can't mess with those things. Yeah, you really can't. And it's funny because a lot of people look down on the Citrus Swirl because it's not the Dole Whip, right? It's like your cop out for the Dole Whip. People don't look at it the same way, I feel like.
Well, yeah, again, it's, people, I mean, I'll admit I'm kind of a crazy fan for the Dole Whip, but I mean, my reasoning for it is that I can't eat a lot of ice cream because it does have an effect on me. And so, finding something that I can eat that is non-dairy and all that is a really great thing. On top of that, the pineapple flavor is just astounding. I've tried to find other things like it here, and nothing's come close. So the Dole Whip does hold a special place in my heart. On the same token, though, yeah, the Citrus Swirl is kind of the same thing. People go there for that specific thing. And when you take it away, people get upset. So
exactly.
Don't take it away.
And I will say I'm not a big pineapple fan, so I like Dole Whip, but it's not my favorite. And I do prefer the Citrus Swirl, but that's just my personal preference. But, and I would hate to see them get rid of that. So I'm glad that they brought it back. But what a funny story. You don't see Disney relent that quickly on these things usually, but people were upset. So
yeah.
All right, so one last thing here. I think this is really actually interesting because every time my wife and I walk through Epcot, we take that little walkway to go to the World Showcase that goes right by the Odyssey. And we always said to ourselves, like, why don't they use that for anything? Like, it just sits there and it's like, it looks sad. It does. It looks sad. It's just right.
It's a special event thing, though, isn't it? Like, it's used once in a blue moon.
Exactly. Well, now they are refurbishing it to use it more than once in a blue moon, ostensibly to use it for like festivals and things like that. Whereas before they were using Wonders of Life, now Wonders of Life is no longer available for that purpose because they're refurbishing it. So now they're refurbing Odyssey to kind of become that space, which I think is neat. I'm glad they're doing something with the space because it is right there in the middle of Epcot. You can't miss the place, and it's good to know that they're actually using it for something.
Yeah, and like you said, it's one of those things where you don't want to walk by a big empty building in the middle of a theme park, right? So
yeah, it just looks weird, right? It looks sad.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what did they do? What happened there?
Exactly. Like, why is that closed? Why don't they just do something with it? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how Wonders of Life has been, right? I mean, it's just been sitting there back in, behind some trees, and it's like, why is that just sitting there and being? They always call it standing, not operating, right? So, and that's the weirdest thing with that, where they have some stuff like that, where they're standing, but they're not operating. They're just sitting there empty or rarely used. And so it's nice to see them doing something with this. So anyway.
Yeah, but like you said, the big difference with that is that Wonders of Life is kind of put off onto the side. So it's not, immediately in your field of view, whereas Odyssey is like literally this large building, like out over the water, right by the lagoon and everything. So you're kind of like, yeah, it's kind of an eyesore if they're not using it.
Exactly. I hope they refurb the outside of it a little bit too, because I feel like the outside was looking a little worn. So
it's pretty dated at this point. It's pretty 90s.
It is very 90s. So on that note, let's wrap up for the week. What do you say?
All right. Yes, let's do it. Okay, so I guess I should also, as we're wrapping up here, we've seen a lot of new people finding the podcast in the last couple of weeks, and we're so glad that we're getting more and more people that are listening to us. And as we've said before, we want to hear your guys' comments, we want to hear your guys' feedback and questions and all that kind of stuff. If you want to get a hold of us, we do have an email address, which is welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We keep saying we should mention the website, and honestly, I don't know why we mentioned the website because we had good intentions of using the website, but we don't use the website because we found that Facebook actually works better for us. So if you want to go to the website and see it, it is welcomehomepodcast.com, but you can also find us on Facebook at Welcome Home Podcast. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, Twitter at Welcome Home Pod and Instagram at Welcome Home Pics. When we do post pictures, they do show up on Instagram if we post them on Facebook. So we do try to post stuff there for you guys, but obviously we don't. There's not always enough stuff there to for us to be posting, day in and day out. But yeah, we try to make sure that anything that's interesting for our viewers, we try to get its attention on there. And as usual, if make sure you like the stuff, follow it, share it out so that your friends can see it, and hopefully we can find more people that would love to listen to the podcast. We are also on iTunes and Google Play, Stitcher, all those places. So make sure if you found us on there, leave us a review, because again, that just helps us get more visibility so that more people can find the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And we're actually, believe it or not, we are coming up on a year anniversary of this show. I cannot believe that. It's mind blowing.
That's awesome.
Can you believe that? It's been a year. Oh, gosh. Wow. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I feel like we should do something for it, but I
don't know what.
I honestly don't know what. Yeah.
I feel like we should too, but I don't know. Maybe we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out for a year. But yeah. I mean, we have grown so much in a year, and we appreciate all of you that have been with us since early on. It's been really fun doing this and growing, our listener base and hearing from all of you guys about how much you enjoy the show. We still don't get hate mail, which is amazing. So we still get.
I'm so surprised.
I know you think we would at some point, but everybody seems to really like the show, and we really appreciate that you guys listen. And I mean that we had a listener write into us recently, and I responded to them, and as answering their question, and they were like, "I can't believe you responded to me," and I'm like, "Really?" I was like, we're not like big stars or anything. We appreciate every listener we have. So if you're going to email us, we're going to take the time to email you back. So
Yeah, because really we're as excited as the rest of you to talk about this stuff. So yeah, keep it coming, guys.
Absolutely. So don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. As Trevor mentioned, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, just about anywhere you can find a podcast. You can find us just by searching for Welcome Home. And of course, just a reminder to our listeners, as always, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on this show are our own. So please contact a DVC representative, contact a cast member, call Disney for more information about any of the things that we talk about on this show. You can find me on PrinceCharmingVacations.com for all your Disney vacation planning needs. So if you have a friend that's going to Disney, have no idea what they're going to do, have no idea what they're going to say, anything about Disney, send them my way. I can help them out. And, join us next time on the show for more Disney parks discussion, of course, more DVC talk. And, of course, we hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.